current board members would also stand, or those that we have here in attendance could. Thank you. Look forward to working with each of you this year. And a big thanks to our ambassadors who have come on and really made the chamber grow in membership and fun and festivities and everything else that they provided, and giving a positive recognition to the Chamber of Commerce. I'm Steve Funkhauser, and I'm proud to be serving as your 2019 Chamber President. 2018 was a great year for the Chamber as we experienced growth in membership and growth in attendance at our Chamber activities. This past year's dinner, dance, and beer and wine festival each had tremendous participation and were lots of fun. Hopefully that platform has been set for another successful year with the events to come up. The Beer and Wine Festival took a huge turn this year in attendance and popularity, and I think probably heard more comments this year about looking forward to it this year than we have in the past. 2019 will be a great year. We're hoping for growth to continue in membership. Your support will mean that the Chamber staff can continue to work seamlessly to accomplish the Chamber's roles in the community. One of those roles is to provide economic education and be a resource of information for existing businesses and future businesses that look to come to the Rockbridge area as their home. This year, we hope to expand their endeavors and build a stronger partnership with our educational institutions in the area. We look forward to building a relationship with the local high schools, specifically the FBLA clubs, in order to develop business mentorships and provide speakers and lecturers from local business owners. Educating our youth on the joys and challenges of owning and operating a business is a small piece of the Chamber's role, but could have a positive and lasting impact for both the Chamber and our community's youth. I hope that each of you have a great 2019. I ask for your continued support of the Chamber, our members, the businesses in which our members own and affiliate with, and this awesome community that we live in will always need your support. So, with that in mind, I'd like to turn the program over to Chuck Barger, and Chuck will come up and make introductions and move forward. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you, Steve. Welcome to our 20th annual State of the Community Breakfast. 20 years we've been doing this now. My thanks to the hardy souls who have ventured forth on a Monday morning to visit with your local, state, and now congressional representatives. We hope to provide a little insight to the current events and future highlights of what can be expected in 2019 and beyond. So let's get to it. My name is Chuck Barger, member of the Government Relations Committee and your moderator this morning. In the best interest of full disclosure and transparency, I happen to work for Charles Barger and Son. We stand to gain if improvements are made to Interstate 81. So any shameless advocacy for the health, safety, and welfare of our traveling public should be taken into full consideration. Thank you. If you will look at the front of your program, we have full bios for each one of our speakers. And after everyone has spoken, time permitting, we will have a brief question and answer period. It is our intent to return all of us back to our normal schedules by 9 o'clock. And let's be considerate to our neighbors by turning off all cell phones. As most of you are aware, the State of the Community Breakfast occurs at the beginning of each year and gives us the opportunity to reflect political and economic development events past, and also a preview of what goals we expect in 2019. This year we are very fortunate, in addition to our regular officials, to have newly elected Congressman Ben Cline, who won the 6th District for 26 years by Bob Goodlatte. He is the first congressman to reside in Rockbridge County since Democrat A. Willis Robertson first took office in 1933. Subsequently, we have Delegate Ronnie Campbell, who could not join us today and he sends his regrets, also a Republican and a former Rockbridge County supervisor, who won Ben's seat, vacated when he was elected to Congress. We now have 2 influential state and federal legislators who call Rockbridge County home, and we look forward to their positive impacts both locally and beyond. While we observe from the sidelines, our elected officials made tough decisions about removing Jordan's Point Dam, funding I-81 improvements, contemplating renovations of the present Rockbridge County High School versus building a new school, coping with the Red Hen incident under national media siege, continuing Vista Link's legal resolution, and a host of others we expect but sometimes may take for granted. Their daily performance constitutes a multitasking juggling act, while trying to address as many diverse backgrounds and specific interests as possible. Yes, it comes with the territory. But let's please show our appreciation for all they do. As a chamber, we want to help. We have 472 member companies that represent 6,000 people who also vote. Our membership is combined with Lexington, Buena Vista, and Rockbridge County. We practice collaborative economic development that has no jurisdictional borders. One of the major programs for 2019 involves networking with Virginia West and other chambers along the I-81 corridor from Bristol to Winchester to promote I-81 safety improvements. It is our understanding from Richmond, all local governments along the corridor must unify their support for I-81 to have the best chance to receive successful funding. Please contact Tracy Lyons to add your influence within our membership. With under 3.5% unemployment, the 2019 economic environment in the Rockbridge area is positive overall. I will leave most of the specifics to our speakers, but Lexington continues to be a destination for tourism, created in part by Main Street Lexington's impressive developments of local activities. It'll be interesting to see what lasting effects the national spotlight on Lexington this past summer will have upon the local economy. However, Washington Lee continues to improve their facilities with the gymnasium expansion, and Virginia Military Institute has a new natatorium or swimming pool planned. Also, Lexington may have an economic development opportunity with the former VDOT property on Waddell Street. Redevelopment of existing properties such as a new brew pub and fitness-related businesses in the former radio station building are already underway. The City of Buena Vista has made the Run of Times list of most significant development stories of 2018. Ed Walker, initial investment of $1.03 million includes a team of Washington Lee law students, assisting him to breathe new life, vitality, and above all, hope for downtown Buena Vista. This is the most positive news for Buena Vista in the past 20 years of community breakfasts. Along with the possibility of connecting the Floodwall Trail with the Chessie Trail, a favorable court ruling concerning repayment of $9.2 million to ACA, continued expansion by auto recycling, new storefronts in the former silk mill, Columbia Gas deployment facility, NIPCO occupying the former Dana plant, and Downey Lancaster's long-term expansion plans, Buena Vista is now positioning itself as an affordable area that may have the potential to attract the elusive and coveted millennial workforce. Buena Vista is looking really good right now. The county has encouraged economic developments associated with Natural Bridge State Park, which is operating with positive cash flow in its first year. Dynova's company opened in former B. Mauer plant in Fairfield, now has 30 employees, using 90% of their former employees. The county has also provided incentives for Mohawk to develop $10 million expansion, and this year will open the Route 60 corridor to future development with a $2.2 million investment in sewer upgrades. The Rafine area continues to defy gravity by creating job growth and economic opportunities from White's Travel Center and Pilot Truck Stop. Every day I hear something new going on at White's Truck Stop.
Truck stop's getting
I
closer.
think it's, yeah, it is. It's in the backyard. At the state level for 2019, let me get this away. Democrat Governor Ralph Northam is promoting the challenge at the state level for 2019. Democratic Governor Ralph Northam is promoting the challenge of gun control, stimulating economic development in rural areas, and fighting the opioid crisis. The House is controlled by 51 to 49 Republican majority and 21-19 in the Senate. All 140 seats are up for election in 2019. That means everybody in the state is up. The Democrats are itching for majority control, so it'll be interesting to see if Virginia follows the same trends set by the 2018 national midterm results.
Just give it a try. See if it works.
Thanks. The results of a December 2018 poll of over 500 I-81 corridor voters responded in this way. 56% do not feel safe on Interstate 81. 88% would back a proposal to fund improvements. 69% said improvements should take place in 2019. And above all, 75% said they would more likely vote for a state legislator who supports funding for Interstate 81 improvements. Virginia is now ranked by Forbes as the 4th business-friendly state, up from 5th last year, but down from number 1 in 2013. It is still our neighbors in North Carolina. Number 1 is still with our neighbors in North Carolina, so we are slowly but surely closing in the gap. We will give only abbreviated highlights of the numerous accomplishments of our speakers in order to maximize their time with this. But our first speaker is going to be Mayor Frank Friedman, City of Lexington. Mayor Friedman has served on City Council since 2010 and elected as mayor in 2017. Mayor Friedman has strong financial and people skills developed during his career with the banking industry. He now serves as senior management as a financial advisor at Cornerstone Bank. He is a team player, and judging from the current infrastructure repairs to the streets, it seems like he's getting a lot done. Will you please welcome Mayor Frank Friedman.
Good morning. Like most of our community, I'm suffering on the tail end of a cold, so my voice isn't what it usually is. But excited to be with you here today. And Chuck, thank you for those kind words. And you may notice from my clean shirt and tie, I have very little to do with the actual work in the streets of Lexington. But proud of our city staff and the contractors that are doing a great job with all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, friends and neighbors, good morning and Happy New Year. I bring you warm greetings and good cheer for 2019. It's an honor to be with you this morning and to represent Lexington City Council and the City of Lexington as your mayor. I want to recognize the members of City Council who are here, and if you're here this morning, will you please stand and be recognized? And please remain standing, and folks, hold your applause. Marilyn Alexander, Dennis Ayers, Michelle Hentz, David Ziegler, Chuck Smith, and Leslie Strawn. You'll notice we have a quorum, but we're not going to take care of any business today. Thank you all for your service. I also want to recognize outgoing council member Dr. J. Patrick Ramey, whose term ended December 31st. We're grateful to Dr. Ramey and especially his family for the dedication and time that he gave to serve our city. On a personal note, it's a privilege and an honor to serve as mayor of our great city. It's not without a great deal of work, but I love the work and the people of our community who work so diligently to make Lexington and our entire community a great place to live, work, and achieve. Speaking of great people, at our January 3rd meeting, which was 8 o'clock, January 3rd. You're welcome the first and third Thursdays when we always meet, and love to see this many smiling faces. But we took the time to recognize 4 men who retired in 2018. Collectively, they served our community for 140 years. Think about that. Martin DeLegge, who helped decorate the Christmas tree, among other things, 28 years. Howard Irvin, who quietly and competently and successfully served the city for 42 years. Jack Smith, who served for 31. And John Smiling Smith, if you ever saw him without a smile on his face, let me know, 39 years of service. On behalf of a grateful community, we thank those men and their families for their service, and I offer a big thank you to all the municipal employees for all they do for our community as neighbors, as our friends, employees, and public servants. I also want to offer my congratulations to Ben Cline and Ronnie Campbell on their successful bids for public office. I also want to offer my thanks to Jennifer Lewis and Christian Worth and all the other primary candidates, including Katie Brown and Jay Lewis, who provided competition. We are a better community from these competitive races. This is the State of the Community Breakfast, and I'm here to offer my insights. I believe our community is in great shape, and our future continues to hold much promise. 2018 was certainly a memorable year, and Chuck highlighted a lot of the details already, so you may see some repetition here. It was a memorable year for many reasons, and we saw many opportunities for our community. One accomplishment was Andy McThenia worked with the city staff and achieved his dream of a conservation easement and public access to the Uncle's Trail. Also, the start of the Blue Ridge Resource Authority. Main Street Lexington led Lex Launch, a program supporting 30+ people on business planning, organizing to open a small business, and culminating with an award of $60,000 in several new businesses in our community. We continue to work on meaningful infrastructure plans. We began the Main Street Water Line Replacement Project, several paving projects that you suffered through, which created smooth sailing on our streets. And yes, there is much paving yet to be done. We're aware of it. The city created a strategic plan with the help of many, many volunteers, many of you in this room. And the city annual report was published. All of this, which was led by our capable city manager, Noah Simon. He and Gary Swink do a great job with our budgeting and certainly reflect the words of Oscar II. I would rather have people laugh at my economies than weep for my extravagance. We are indebted to them for their thoughtful work. However, construction continues to be a theme, and from the expansion at Kendall to the waterline replacement program to the construction of new athletic facility at Washington Lee, we continue to see significant construction work in our community. I want to pause and recognize this construction, all in the name of progress, and that it can be difficult. Thus, I remain grateful to our neighbors, to our many businesses, and all the visitors who have been inconvenienced as we work to improve our community. In 2019, the comprehensive plan review is underway. More paving is in our future, as well as more infrastructure programs. These improvements will occur along with the regular work of collecting trash, recycling, collecting leaves, plowing snow, decorating downtown for the many holidays, and much, much more. The tourism strategic plan will be received, and we will have an opportunity to lobby our legislators. None of these accomplishments are possible without a great deal of collaboration. Our community must continue to collaborate and work together to tackle the issues we confront. We must try new ideas and find new progressive ways to attract business in our community. Remember, times certainly do change. You may recall it was once fashionable and the custom to take a bath weekly and religion daily. I invite you to join me in uniting our community. Please look for opportunities to work together as there remains strength in numbers working toward a common goal. Join me in working to make our community as strong and vibrant as possible, thus realizing our great potential. Thank you to the Chamber for hosting this terrific event, to the Lexington Golf Club for the beautiful breakfast, and thank all of you for your interest, attention, and dedication to our community. But before I surrender the podium, I implore all of you to do something kind and helpful each and every day before the sun sets in the west. By doing so, you will be a positive influence on the success of our community. It's a treat to be with you this morning and have the privilege of serving our community. Again, working together, we can accomplish much, and we have much before us. Mark Twain offered, "The one with a new idea is a crank until the idea succeeds." May we all be open-minded and willing to listen. And I leave you with these words from J.M. Lawrence. It's not what we have in our life, but who we have in our life that counts. I'm grateful for all of you, and I encourage you to let the people you love in your life to know it. Thank you.
Frank for those, especially those quotes. I really appreciate those. And keeping the infrastructure going, no matter how inconvenient it is, you'll be thankful it's been done later, years in the future. Thank you very much. And our second speaker is Mayor of Buena Vista, William Billy Fitzgerald. In an upset 2017 victory, Billy has overseen changes ranging from developer Ed Walker conceiving a new vision for downtown to Southern Virginia's student volunteers performing 4,000 hours of community service, painting buildings, cleaning streets, and landscaping. Will you please welcome City of Buena Vista Mayor Billy Fitzgerald.
Well, my speech is going to be a little bit shorter now since Chuck done told half the stuff I was going to talk about. So I'd like to thank everybody today. I broke it up into different departments. First thing we'll talk about SVU. It's one of the fastest growing colleges in the country. They're getting ready to build a new academic building and residential facility. And Chuck talked about the day of service. They had over 800 volunteers, done over 4,000 man hours of work to repairs in the Buena Vista. The police department, we are the 6th safest city in Buena Vista. I think it's a first, but you know, they say the 6th, so we have to go with it. Our police department's been accredited. We have over $120,000 in VDM grants. We got a grant for a school resource officer and $145,000 in equipment grant. Our park needed a lot of work. So we have done a major sewer upgrade. We've done a lot of work to buildings. If you've ever been in our park and seen the oil pavilion, it was really rough. We have a lot of repairs. We can put a new roof on it. Looks really good. We purchased some land across the road from a park to add to the park as more riverfront property. And for our economy, Columbia Gas is coming down into our industrial park, which is a big benefit. That opens up a door for the industrial park. Ed Walker, he purchased 13 buildings. We're looking forward to see that completed. And NIPCO purchased HDT. They are going to do a distribution center, and I believe that'll turn into a little bit more than that. Last year, I said I'd like to see 5 to 7 new small businesses. We got that and more. But I also said I'd like to see 1 manufacturer. We really didn't get the manufacturer I want. We got a lot of good things come to the city, but not that. So I'd like to see us get 1 new manufacturer for this year, and we'll try for 10 new small businesses. So thank you.
Thank you, Billy, and thanks for your cooperation for being a business-friendly city, and look for better things to come in 2019. Our third speaker is Chairman of the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors, John Higgins. John has served the Buffalo District since his election in 2011. Since 2014, he's been chairman for 3 consecutive years and vice chair in 2017. Will you please welcome Supervisor John Higgins.
I'd like to correct, very seldom you have to correct Chuck, but I have to correct him. I am the vice chair. Mr. Henney is the chair. Due to his work schedule, he is unable to be here today and has asked me to fill in for him. First of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber. It's always good to be at these events, and I'd like to thank the Country Club for always providing a great meal. And it's an honor to sit at the table with so many good men. I was at lunch yesterday. I didn't put this in my speech. I told Chuck one time I'm not a public speaker, so but we'll get through it. But I was at lunch yesterday, and Ben and his family was there. I told my wife and daughter, I said, you know, it's just so good to have elected officials from our area that has went federal and Creed in the state and was told them so long. And my daughter looked at me and she said, you know, being so young, maybe someday he could be the president of the United States. And I said, well, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep on pulling for him. So Ben, you got one supporter for sure. I guess I, along with two other board members, were first elected 7 years ago. And that was Mr. Campbell and Mr. Hennig. We quickly determined that we were on the same mind generally, and after a short time, decided that the two sitting board members, Rusty Ford and Buster Lewis, had similar goals: to move the county forward in every way possible. I can say that the past year, Jay Lewis and Dan Lyons have had the same vision. For as long as anyone could remember, Rockbridge was known in Richmond as the county that said no. Rockbridge is known all over that we just wanted to be a quiet little community. And we decided that we needed to change things. We determined that we would break the mold, and we have in every way possible. To our north, south, east, in some cases west, localities have flat land and utilities in place for ready business. I often hear, why don't you do something? We have two major interstates. Why don't you do something about businesses? Well, there's a little problem. Folks, major industry requires water, sewer, gas, flat ground, and a workforce, most of which are in short supply here. So we did what we thought was right. We concentrated on our strengths and pushed past our weaknesses. Our strengths lies in small businesses and tourism. Over the past 7 years and in the last 12 months, we have concentrated on both. 6 years ago, we had 2 unoccupied schools. We have none now. After it is now the center of the school operation, which is headed by a caring and effective board, superintendent, and staff. Rockbridge Middle School is now home to Central Health, Rivermont School, employing 48 employees full-time and saving all of us money, keeping our special needs children at home instead of traveling to Charlottesville, Harrisburg, and Roanoke. Been a great benefit. Hallam-Bell is now home of BARC Electric and BRC Connection, featuring the Commonwealth's first community solar project. Riding on the Random Backbone Network, BRC is bringing fiber optics to every home and business in its service here and beyond. If this is not a definition of a model rural fiber incentive, I don't know what is. Both the Virginia Horse Center and Natural Bridge was in a downward spiral. Working with the EDA and the City of Lexington, we have helped bring the Horse Center back to the point that they are competitive with anyone in the country, and we continue to support them in every effort that we can. Natural Bridge speaks for itself. Under the leadership of Jim Jones, Jim, I think I've seen Jim here somewhere. Jim Jones, Jim, under your leadership, you and your fine staff has made the transformation of Natural Bridge such a smooth transition, and we do thank you for that. And I don't think anybody can ever say that in going to Natural Bridge, if you run into Jim, he's got a smile, and it's just like he's been there forever. So we do thank you, Jim, for your hard work. Then we just need to get all of our parkland into ownership by the Commonwealth. I think our new old friend, Mr. Campbell, in Richmond, would carry that banner for us. Over the past year, we saw many projects completed. Our 911 center opened in Buena Vista. Radio system was cut over. Our new CAD system. We now currently have Kirk Berry as our central director, finalizing the core service. In addition, as a part of some projects in the county, fire, EMS, administration office, and emergency operations center opened, finally giving us a place to move easily at the center on a daily operation. But regionally disasters that we are prone to now has a location also to meet. In a related area, Chief Nathan Ramsey and Kevin Moore, our captain, we expect them to continue to keep that operation going. Our employees were, those two employees did something. They went out and helped raise a grant for $445,000 to benefit all the residents in the region to rehab our outdated fire training facility in Buena Vista. So that was really good for not only us, but the region. Also, more than 6 years ago, the board envisioned a long-term solid waste solution, including the first of new landfill sales, which potentially carries us for 60 years in the future. Last year, the new Blue Ridge Resource Authority was formed and completed its first year of operation. On solid waste side, the Cars Creek Collection Center opened this year. Contracting to develop the Fancy Hill Center was just awarded. We have one more site that we're working on in the area of 608, somewhere in that area. We hadn't really found the location yet, so I can't really say where it's at, but somewhere on 608 in that area, we're looking to complete. And that way, over our 5 years, our vision that we had 5 years ago for solid waste and collection is coming to an end. On the economic development front, the Board of Supervisors, working with the PSA and EDA, approved sewer lines improvement on 60 West, which will pave the way for additional development in the near term and pave the way for additional development in the long term out to exit 188 in the future. Additional highlights in 2018, Mohawk embarked on a $10 million expansion. We competed against 2 other states to help ensure that not only we added jobs, but we kept the ones we already had. Long-term investments by the board is boards years ago, taking water and sewer up 11 corner to Rayfin continues to pay off. Bobby Burstesser and others continue to expand business at the 205. And if I may say, Bobby Burstesser has done a great job in that area. Last time I talked to Bobby, I think he had over 400 employees, and by that conversation, I'm sure he's hired 15 more. That's the way Bobby is, and businesses continue to grow. Dr. Marsh's new office opened. It was a $800,000 investment for that area. Caribbean Fitness Center is under construction. Plans approved by Mr. Burstresser at Quaker Steak and Lube Steakhouse. Pallet Truck Stop completed a $2 million expansion. In cooperation with the EDA and Buena Vista, Byers Incorporated opened the Byers Technical Institute, training workers for a new tomorrow with assistance from a $200,000 grant from Go Virginia. And in talking to Ronnie and Timmy Byers, they had a problem hiring individuals to weld. And Ronnie had a vision. He said, if I can train them, I can employ them. And I can let you know that in talking to Ronnie and them, that they have several young men and one young lady that they have trained that has good jobs and making good money. So, AutoZone invested $1.1 million in new facilities just up the road, while the Watts Brothers received and was approved for a new propane distributing center in Natural Bridge. Following these major expansions at the old bowling alley, Devil's Backbone invested $1.3 million in the rest of addition and the tap room. Food Line invested over $500,000 in remodeling their 2 stores. Tourism is our bread and butter. In addition to the success of Natural Bridge State Park, Natural Bridge Zoo, Safari Park, Great Valley Farm Brewery, and Mark Klein always doing something. Big Spring Farm and Jellystone Campground expanded operation also. A regional IDA supported projects for a $1.5 million replacement of the pedestrian bridge on the Chessie Trail across the South River will be completed hopefully in 2019. At this time, I'd like to recognize some folks who worked many hours to help the board make decisions. I'm speaking of all the citizens across our 3 localities who dedicated so much of their time and efforts to making the wheels turn, generally with no reimbursement, only a token of or a thank you. Volunteers appointed to the various boards, authorities, commissions, and other groups are critical to our overall regional success. It is important to remember that these are volunteers dedicating hundreds of hours each year in meetings, reviewing agenda packages, and receiving feedback from the public. But there are many. I'm try to only mention a few. Our Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, the EDA, IDA, PSA, MSA, Chamber of Commerce, electoral boards, building codes, Dabney Lancaster Board, School Board, Tourism, Soil and Water Conservation, Library, Fire Board, Habitat, TAP, Shenandoah Valley Partnership, Emergency Service Authority, Railroad, Health Center, Limekiln. I could go on and on. And some of y'all that's in this room, that's on these boards, thank you for your service. Added to these are our faith-based volunteers and service clubs such as the Ruletons, Lions Club, Rotaries, and of course our volunteer fire departments and EMS providers, and together there is nothing we can't do. In 2019, it is ripe for the picking. We have the opportunity to work together regionally. We just need to do it. We'll prove that we together, that we can accomplish anything. And tonight, the Board of Supervisors will appoint a new supervisor to replace Mr. Campbell. And I'm sure that individuals will bring new ideals and new goals with us to the board. I can't go without saying over the last 7 years that the Board of Supervisors did something that it's hard to put into words. And that's that we hired a county administrator by the name of Spencer Souther that has fulfilled every expectation that the board could possibly want. We were just so fortunate to get a young man that worked, that lived in our area, that knew so many people, but had such a talent. And I just can't put it into words what this young man has did to this community. In closing, this is my 4th year giving a speech here. I was as a chairman for 3 years, and as vice chair, I guess I've spoke twice now also. I've truly enjoyed it. I do appreciate everyone in here that spends so much time helping our community. I have decided that this is my last year, and I'll be sitting in the audience next year, and hopefully that Buffalo will end up getting a new supervisor in 2020 that will continue to carry on goals and the visions that our great community wants. Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, John. We'll miss you next year, but thank you for your part in breaking the mold for Rockbridge County. And my personal experience has been very positive with the county, and I can speak to everything that he said as being formerly a county of no, and now it's a positive experience. Our next speaker this morning is Democratic Senator Creigh Deeds of the 25th District. Among Senator Deeds' personal goals is to create a positive system within the Virginia mental health care community for those who may be a danger to themselves or to others. He is a tireless advocate for mental health funding, which in large part through his efforts and personal experience is now the highest it has ever been. A slogan that is in a small diner in Bath County could be used to describe Senator Deeds' drive and passion. Hope is the only thing stronger than fear. Will you please welcome Senator Creigh Deeds. Thank you all very much, and thank you for the opportunity to serve in the State Senate. I want to thank the local leadership, Billy and Frank and John Higgins. I thank you for your service. Thanks for hearing all the good news about the community. 2018 was a momentous year in the General Assembly. We passed Medicaid expansion. Medicaid expansion does three important things that touch this community and touch lots of other communities in Virginia. It brings back about $2 billion a year to Virginia. Dollars that Virginian taxpayers that make more than $200,000 a year already pay. So it provides some equity to our taxpayers. The second thing it does is that those dollars roll into communities, primarily communities where there are lots of working poor people. So the money kind of ripples through the community and creates economic opportunity, creates jobs. But the third thing, and the most important thing, and that about $1 million will touch, of that money, will touch the Rockbridge community. About $1 million will touch the Allegheny Highlands. So that's going to help a lot of small hospitals stay in business, stay open. The third thing it does, and probably the most important thing, is up to 400,000 people will have their lives changed. They'll have access to preventative care. That will not only mean that long-term savings for all of us, that will be a life-changing event for a lot of those people and probably will save lives. That was an important thing we did last year. Last year was a long session. A long session, 60 days, starting from the first Wednesday or the second Wednesday in January. So this will start this day after tomorrow. This year, the difference is this year it's a 46-day session, short session, which basically means we try to cram 60 days worth of work in 46 days. So it's over before you know it. If you're waiting until now to talk to your legislator about what that legislator needs to focus on this session, you're probably too late, because a lot of the real work of putting things together, putting together proposals for this coming session have already taken place. And frankly, a whole lot of the deliberation has taken place through the years. Now, you'll see from me basically the same focus you've seen in the past. I'm on this quest to create a system of public mental health service delivery, and we've made some important strides. We've still got an awful lot of work to do. There are three big issues, I think, that are going to dominate a whole lot of this legislative session. Number one, I want to tell you a story. Steve Newman, who's a friend of mine, a senator from Lynchburg, was having in debate this past year. He talked about when he and I first went to Richmond. He said, and when Senator Deeds still had hair. You know, if you open up your program and you look at the picture of me, it's not a real recent picture. I still had hair. This year, so this will be my 28th session. That picture's at least 10 years old. For the first time since I had hair, we will have money to argue over. We'll have at least a $1.2 million surplus. That's created in part for a lot of reasons. Number one, the economy's strong. Number two, changes at the federal level have meant that unless we make significant changes to our tax policy, we'll have extra money. Number three, the Supreme Court ruled that internet sales can be subject to a sales tax. So all of that will create opportunity for us. The first thing we're going to have to do, I think, in my view, is conform our tax code to the federal tax code. If we don't, we're going to create expense and problems for everybody that has to file a return for 2018. And then we'll go into the discussion about whatever money is in surplus, what happens with that. There are lots of different proposals. One thing that I'd like, of course, I'll have my hooks on some of that money for expansion of some mental health services, but one thing that we're going to have to do is fund K through 12 education, do a better job. We're still not at our 2009 level of funding for K through 12 education. We haven't caught up with the recession we went through then. We haven't caught up with our investment in education. So that's one thing that I think is going to be priority when it comes to the excess. A second key issue, and one that my friend Chuck mentioned at least 8 times during his comments, that's Interstate 81. Interstate 81 is the economic lifeline for Western Virginia. As a matter of fact, it carries more truck traffic than any other interstate, any other highway in Virginia. And it's clogged. You can go through bucolic sections of the Valley of Virginia and be stuck, sitting in traffic for 30, 40 minutes in the middle of Shenandoah County, for example, or Rockbridge County, or Bogota. And people lose their lives on Interstate 81 every year. So we're gonna have to do something. And there seems to be consensus around that issue. What that consensus will amount to, I guess, we'll just have to see. The Commonwealth Transportation Board has come up with a list of about $4 billion worth of projects that need to be done on Interstate 81 that from Bristol to Winchester, about 325 miles. Those projects don't involve expanding it to an 8-lane highway. They involve basically making the sort of improvements that were made between what am I thinking? You know, between Lexington and Fairfield, basically, throughout the system. Climbing lanes, third lanes, improvements in some intersections, some exits. Their plan is that they've reduced that $4 billion plan to a $2 billion plan that they're gonna do the improvements over the next 20 years. Now the question will be where you come up with the money to fund that plan. 2 of my Republican colleagues have said they're going to introduce legislation that involves new money for Interstate 81. You know, we'll wait and see what those plans are. It seems to me there are 2 different ways you can come up with the money. Number one, you can toll. Now, people that use Interstate 81 every day to go from one community to another to work are going to have trouble with that. And a lot of legislators are going to have trouble. As a matter of fact, I think in about 2002, William Wampler, who was then a state senator from Bristol, carried legislation to basically provide that passenger vehicles will never be tolled in Interstate 81. So a lot of people think it's popular. It's a popular idea to say, you know, don't tax you, don't tax me, tax the man behind the tree. Put the tolls on trucks. That's a popular idea. But you put the tolls on trucks only, you're going to divert all that truck traffic to highways that aren't intended to carry it. I'm talking about Route 11, Route 220, Route 29. So that's not an easy answer. The second way to do it is to come up with a more broad-based fuel tax, and I think Emmett Hanger had a legislation last year to create an Interstate 81 corridor funding district, somewhat like what we did in Northern Virginia and Hampton Roads 6 years ago. And that would create a plan that would basically allow us to raise the money, issue bonds, make the improvements on 81 over the next 20 years. So we'll just wait and see how that debate works out. The third big issue, and before I turn it over to my friend Ben Cline, is, and this is going to be kind of an interesting issue because it's one we've played with in the past, but one that's come to fruition, I think, this year. And it comes from some action that took place at the federal level just this past year. Indian tribes in Virginia were given federal recognition. And what that means, the Pamunkey Indians are likely to build a casino. Casinos exist on Indian reservations in other states. They're going to have a right to do that. So that has meant that a lot of communities in Virginia, communities that haven't seen the economic growth that other communities have, look at casinos, gambling, as a way to build tax base, build jobs, create destination points. Specifically, areas in Portsmouth, Virginia, Danville, and Bristol have put forth proposals. Now, a city councilman from Bristol back in the summer called me up and said, Creigh, we really need your help. We need you to get behind this casino proposal. And I said, hold on a second. Who you need to be talking to is your state senator. You need to be talking to your folks, because they're probably gonna be the ones that are gonna have raised the loudest objections to any sort of casino in Bristol. But they're behind the proposal now. So I think they're Democrats and Republicans both really on both sides of the issue. And I think that's gonna generate a lot of debate this session and probably a lot of noise, but it's also an opportunity that those three communities at least see as a means of creating some economic opportunity. It's going to be a fast session. It's going to be it's going to be intense. It always is. 46 days. A lot of people look at me sometimes and they say, "How can that guy vote that way? How can you vote that way? How can you do that?" Every legislator, I think, even though they may have different points of view and they may come up and disagree about things, everybody wants to do the right thing. But they act on the best information available, and I act on the best information available. Don't assume, even though I said early on that it's probably too late to have a whole lot of input on new topics, but don't assume that I have all the right information. I get thousands of emails every week. If you think you know something about an issue that could affect my point of view or give me some new information, please reach out to me. Reach out to the people that represent you. Reach out to others. Don't assume we have the best information, because at the end of the day, we're going to have to make decisions. And your input is going to be critical to how we make those decisions. It's going to be a fast session. I look forward to it. Thank you for the breakfast, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you, Creigh, and I hope that the additional revenues from the Medicaid expansion will provide additional revenues for mental health services in the state of Virginia. And if you need some extra information about Interstate 81, I'll be sure to send it. Our next speaker and final speaker this morning is our very own Congressman Ben Cline, Republican from the 6th District. He served as retired Congressman Bob Goodlatte's Chief of Staff prior to his election to the 24th District seat in 2002. One of his first actions after election was to hold town hall meetings as an event to raise the opportunity for dialogue within his constituency. For the first time in his political career, Congressman Cline is a member of the minority party. We hope his calm reasoning and negotiating skills will be beneficial to our district, especially in today's congressional climate. Will you please welcome Congressman Ben Cline.
Well, thank you, Chuck, and I want to thank Steve and the Chamber for hosting this again. It is, I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be back here at a State of the Community breakfast, because this is home. This is where I feel comfortable. This is where I can enjoy the conversations, talk a little bit about policy, and kind of look ahead with certainty about the issues that are coming up in Richmond, and talk about those issues and get to enjoy some time with Senator Deeds. And I also want to thank Mayor Fitzgerald and Mayor Friedman and Vice Chair Higgins for all their leadership here at the local level. I'm especially relieved to be here today because last week was a little bit unsettling. It was probably one of the first times that I've felt more like a fish out of water at a meeting of a legislature than a fish in water. Last week's swearing in was pretty humbling, pretty amazing to have over 200 people from the 6th District come up to celebrate with me. It sure was a great day, but now, after a whole year of campaigning, I finally get to work for the people of the 6th District. It's been a year of working to get the job, to be able to go to work for you. So it's a great honor to represent this area, my hometown, up in Washington, and to try and do some good for the people of the 6th District. Ronnie and we really didn't have an agreement. You would think that we did, to give me the chance to talk about what's going on in Richmond a little bit, for him not to be here today. But I understand he wants to hit the ground running for you all in Richmond on Wednesday with the start of session. So for him to need to get down there early to get acclimated, boy, I certainly understand and sympathize with that. I remember I started in 2002 in a short session, and it went by in a blink. And part of the reason for that was because then Speaker Bill Howell on the first day showed up in my legislative office, and my staff had actually come halfway down the hall to meet me and said, "The speaker's in your office." And I don't think I had met the speaker yet. I may have once, but and so I was very nervous. I walked in and the speaker said, "Ben, I can tell you have got the smarts and the drive to make it in this General Assembly. You're going to be a great leader, and so I want you to do a favor for me." And I thought, my God, this is amazing. First, he said these great things, and now he wants me to do a favor. I'm happy to. He said, "I've got these bills that have been crafted to introduce that go to the courts committee, and I don't sit on courts anymore. I need somebody who can manage these bills in the courts of justice, and you'll have a lot of people helping you along the way." I thought, good grief, I'm just barely getting my legislative agenda together. Here's the speaker with some bills for me to carry. I'm so honored, Mr. Speaker. Little did I know that those were very simple bills that had been pre-drafted, were ready to go, and he had me sitting in the front row of courts of justice for that entire first session of the General Assembly. I can say that now that I'm not your General Assembly legislator anymore, but it was me sitting on the front row, cooling my heels, waiting to have these bills approved unanimously so that the speaker could go off and do other things and not have to sit there in courts committee. But you learn lessons over a decade and a half in the legislature, and Ronnie is going to learn those lessons himself. Hopefully Kirk Cox doesn't have him sitting on the front row of some committee cooling his heels the first year of his session, and he can get right to work for the people because he brings that local experience. He truly has that ability to work not just across party lines, which he's going to have to do to get stuff signed, enacted into law with a Democratic governor, but also working with Creigh Deeds over in the Senate. But he's used to working with other localities, working with the city of Lexington, working with the city of Buena Vista in a regional manner. That's going to be so critical, yet again, to maximizing the influence of the 24th District in Richmond, making sure that he can leverage those numbers, working together to get appropriations, to get people paying attention to our part of Virginia. We've got so many great things to talk about at the state level, whether it's Natural Bridge State Park or the Horse Center, VMI, WNL, SVU. Lexington-Rockbridge, Buena Vista is a unique area, and it is truly a jewel in the crown of the Commonwealth. I'm a little bit jealous. Ronnie is going to get to celebrate the 400th anniversary of the founding of the General Assembly. In 1619, the settlers at Jamestown established representative government, and then quickly adjourned for whatever breaks that continue to this day. No, I'm kidding. They actually did go to work, and representative democracy was established there at Jamestown. And so I left my seat on December 18th, and so I missed out on the 400th anniversary, but I'm sure there'll be a lot of great tie-ins for the Rockbridge area, because even though we weren't settled yet, over the course of the history of the Commonwealth, that's the role of Rockbridge County plays a prominent role, and so we look forward to highlighting a lot of that. And in Richmond, Creigh, if you can keep it to 46 days, I think that'd be a victory for Richmond. We've managed to bleed over into extended sessions over the past several years, and that's unfortunately become a habit for some of the leaders in Richmond to say, well, we don't really only have 46 days, we can always just extend it. That politics that starts to play into the budgeting process does not help our Commonwealth. It doesn't help us run better, it doesn't help us operate better, it doesn't help businesses plan better, it doesn't help you as a Chamber of Commerce operate better, and it hurts our business rankings, quite frankly. It could hurt our AAA bond rating, which we're one of only 9 states to have a AAA bond rating. So we need to keep that, and making sure we balance our budget, something I haven't heard in Washington since I've gone up there a couple of times. Nobody's said anything about that. It's something Virginia continues to do and continues to lead on. So whether it's the issues that Creigh mentioned, I know the House of Delegates, the Republicans have talked about a tax plan to make sure that as a result of the federal tax bill, taxpayers in Virginia do not see an increase in their taxes. And so making sure that you can take you can itemize your Virginia taxes if you still take the standard deduction at the federal level. It doesn't amount to a tax increase for you. There's a proposal on the table from the governor that would spend a little bit more. There's a proposal on the table from Republicans that would give a little more back to taxpayers. So working that out is always part of the rub when it comes to operations in Richmond. The 81 proposals that are out there, that's great that policymakers are seizing the bull by the horns. We've been talking about not just immediate solutions to improve safety on 81 with more trooper patrols, but also making the kinds of changes that we have on 81 northbound between Lexington and Fairfield. And then long term, yes, rail's got to be part of it, but we do have to widen 81, and so hopefully at the federal level I'll be able to help with that as well. Gambling, gun safety, coal ash, teacher raises, redistricting, marijuana, you name it. The state is where so much happens that directly impacts citizens. A lot of what I'm learning about now is it's harder to draw that direct line between the policy decisions that are made at the federal level and how it impacts your daily life, your pocketbook. But they are there is a lot going on in DC, a lot of conversations. There's not actually a lot happening right now because the government's shut down. This is it's not just me going from the majority to the minority. It's me going from functioning government to dysfunctional government, and that is frustrating to say the least. But we did manage to get the office up and running on Thursday, fully staffed. Debbie Garrett, who many of you know is my district director, has been my legislative aide in the past, is back with me as my district director and is still in the Stanton office working, so please contact her with any concerns that you have. Nicole Manley, who was my legislative director at the state level, is the law firm has been closed, so whereas I used to have to run out of here to go to court, I don't get to do that anymore. I'm a little bummed about that, but Nicole Manley, who was my legislative director in Richmond, is now my legislative director in Washington. So she's going to be working with a staff to set a legislative agenda and keep me informed as to all the stuff that's being worked on. We joked that whereas now I have a receptionist, a scheduler, a press secretary, legislative assistants, district assistants, and a staff of more than a dozen, that was all Nicole up until this year. Nicole did all of those things. So she's amazing, and she's going to be settling up in DC as well. I still want to make the issues that were important to me in Richmond important to my agenda in DC: transparency in government, higher education. The 6th Congressional District has more institutions of higher ed than any other district in the country, except for one up in Boston. So promoting higher education is going to continue to help this area. And my focus on criminal justice issues. I still don't know what committees I'm going to be on. I've asked for judiciary, I've asked for transportation, so that we can get some benefits for I-81, because we anticipate an infrastructure bill, we anticipate a 6-year highway transportation bill. Don't know if the Speaker's going to allow for itemized funding in those bills, as we had done in the past. We haven't done it in about 20 years, but there was a rumor that she might want to do that. So angling for transportation is something I'm trying to do. And then government reform and oversight I've asked for. But the town hall meetings are critical. I want to be accessible and available. I had town hall meetings for 16 years here in the 24th, and they were great exchanges. They weren't always opportunities for agreement. You know, there was a lot of disagreement, because when you have a district as diverse as the 24th, and you have cities like Lexington, which only voted for me once when I was opposed, and that was in '09 with Jeff Price, and I still only won it by about a dozen votes. But you know, there are folks there who just who have different points of view on the issues, and that's healthy to discuss those. It doesn't hurt, you know, to talk through those issues, because it helps educate me on where differing opinions come from, and also helps to inform me as I go up there and try and represent on policy issues. So we had 4, and I started them in the 4 localities that I did not win in the 6th. That I won 15 of the 19, and I lost 4. But they were big 4. Roanoke, City of Roanoke was where I had my first one. City of Stanton, City of Harrisonburg, and the City of Lexington. So we had some good exchanges, and I'm planning to have more. But I'll have one in Buena Vista, I'll have one in Rockbridge, we'll have others in other areas, but continuing that conversation is going to be part of what I'm striving for in DC, and promoting this area and the 6th District in Washington, trying to help elevate the opportunities, the names of all of the great businesses, the great opportunities that are here, get some national attention for some of the great things that are happening here. That is so key. And so as I'm trying to, you know, my new Chief of Staff, Matt Miller, comes from the administration. He comes from the Department of Labor, where he was head of Veterans Employment Programs, trying to get some folks from the administration down here to see what's going on, see the great things that are happening. That's going to be a big part of my first year in office, and continuing to work with you all to make this place so special, so wonderful. That's one of my main goals as your new representative. So I look forward to hitting the ground running, going to work for you, and coming back with some good news, and continuing to come back to this great event, hopefully in the future. So thanks again for having it. Thanks again for inviting me. God bless. Take care.
Thank you, Ben. We're honored to have Ben as our representative for the 6th District, and his personal touch that he's going to put on his term there in office. We hope that he can get to Washington soon and put some function back into the federal level. The town hall meetings will actually be a great help, so I think that's tremendous service that you're doing for this district. We're now open to questions from the audience. If you would raise your hand and direct who you would like to ask a question, we'll start that right now. Got any questions? Don't be bashful. You have about 15 minutes. No questions about 81?
Oh, let me get on stand on my feet. I'm Torben Pedersen, and this is for both Ben and Creigh, and it is dealing about I-81. And Fifthman has full statement to preface what I'm going to say. We went through all of this back in, what was it, 1999. It seemed we had the same issues coming up about the overcrowding of I-81 and expansion of I-81. And several proposals had come forward and promptly got voted down. One question that was brought up was this rail issue. Now I want you to imagine, this is Virginia. You have a truck coming up out of Tennessee, coming from wherever south and west of here, stops at a rail head. The trailer and the truck gets loaded on the train and then goes through Virginia to Maryland and get off back on the highway. It is not a doable thing. So if you have freight on a truck, it stays on the highway. That truck delivers to local areas as well. They can't get on the rail. Why is it we can't come up and agree that we need to expand the highway and not just here and here and here? We have, like you said, more truck traffic going up I-81 than any other highway in the Commonwealth. Like minimum one lane in each direction, addition, and in some areas, 2 lanes to be added. Now, do we need a toll? That's something that can be debated. With today's computerized tolling systems, we can do all kinds of stuff. If your license plate says that you are from Lexington, you can get 50 miles of free travel on the interstate. You've got to stay off the interstate for a couple of hours before you get back and get another 50 miles. But it can be done. Computers can do that. The next thing, of course, is also we can go with a fuel tax. And let's do a fuel tax on all vehicles. I drive both a truck and I drive automobile. I travel all of central Virginia and south side Virginia, and we need to have. So what I like to say now, and that's something, can be on the legislative level, begin to come up and push for either let's get the expansion to come out, so this is what we need, and let's fund it through increased fuel taxes and or a toll.
Well, and Creigh may have more to say about it, but I think that yes, 81 needs to be widened from Bristol to Winchester. It needs a 3rd lane. Can that be done right now, immediately with current funds? No. So what can we do in the interim to make targeted improvements? There are proposals on the table. One has to do with tolling, one has to do with local sales taxes. Those are going to be debated at the state level, at the federal level, trying to target money toward these areas, as Congressman Goodlatte did, is something I'm going to be trying to do. But rail can be a component. Ever since I've been in the General Assembly, we've tried to, just as we've targeted money toward road improvements, the rail line in the valley is a single track. It is old. It is near environmentally sensitive areas. It is not conducive to freight to rail. But what is the double track that runs along the 29 corridor. So you still have a lot of rail that carries freight that is not just in time, because Torben, you're right, for just in time delivery, freight by rail is not an option. But when it comes up 81 corridor, when it gets to Roanoke, it on a regular basis now is diverted over on 460 to the 29 corridor, comes up to Manassas, and because of a state investment we made about 10 years ago, there is a cutback now from Manassas through the mountains to Winchester to get back on that 81 corridor for freight by rail, and it has taken trucks off of 81. So we do need to make targeted investments. It was pennies on the dollar that we paid to get that benefit of having those trucks move. Where we can identify improvements like that, we should make them. But yes, we do need to ultimately widen 81 and make that third lane a reality.
You know, what Torben's talking about, at the federal level in about 1998 or 2000, there was a proposal to have a pilot project on Interstate 81 for trucks-only tolling, and to widen it, I think, an extra an extra lane each way. The whole distance. It was about a $3 billion plan at that time, and it never passed at the federal level. That was why William Wampler had the bill to make sure you couldn't toll cars on 81. This year, I think there's some real initiative on both Democratic and Republican side to get something done. We're going to need some help from the federal level, but I think there will be consensus to come together. I hope there will be consensus to come together around either a fuel tax or tolling. You know, I prefer a fuels tax. I think that with tolling, you know, with what you're talking about, you run into some problems, I think, with interstate commerce calls that requires the interstate commerce that you treat people in Virginia just like you treat people from out of Virginia. So any sort of tolling that would give an advantage to in-state residents could be problematic, but it's something we've got to figure out. You know, in the late 90s, I was co-chair of this group called the World Trade Alliance to the Blue Ridge, and we identified billions of dollars worth of exports from Southwest Virginia, from Western Tennessee, Kentucky, from Southern West Virginia, from Western North Carolina that were going out of ports that were not in Virginia. The largest package exporter from Virginia, from the Port of Virginia, from Norfolk, is the paper mill in Covington. We send more trucks of stuff. At that time, we thought that what we needed was an intermodal facility somewhere in Southwest Virginia. A year or two later, Norfolk Southern proposed developing an intermodal facility where you could move trucks, because same day or something that needs quick delivery is going to always stay on trucks. We're always going to have trucks, but some of the long-term hauling you can move to rail. The Manassas thing is one point. The other is Inland Port, which is closer to Winchester, that moves a significant amount of freight from truck to rail. We thought we needed one of those in Southwest Virginia. About 2001, 2002, 2003, in that era, the Norfolk Southern proposed developing one in Montgomery County. Of course, nobody wants anything in their backyard. And the people in Montgomery County just raised complete Cain. And I think that case ended up going to the Supreme Court and back. And after a while, when you have that much fighting, it just becomes too expensive to do. And Norfolk Southern moved their intermodal facility to West Virginia. So we still didn't get that traffic through the Port of Virginia. Still didn't get that business in the Commonwealth. I'm not necessarily in favor of widening Interstate 81 an additional lane or two each way, the whole way. You know, I think that what Interstate 95, that in widening we did there, proved that no matter how wide you build it, you're still going to have a problem. And Interstate 895 is wider than, much wider than Interstate 81, and continues to be full of cars. They don't have the freight traffic we do, but they've got the cars. So we've got to figure it out, and I'm hopeful that we'll come around consensus. Though honestly, whenever you're dealing with new funding, there are going to be people that don't want to vote for it. I'm hopeful we can put aside our partisan differences and come to consensus around a plan that will allow us to make improvements in 81. Torben, when you talk about widening it, the $4 billion plan that the Commonwealth Transportation Board developed doesn't include a complete widening the whole way. They've taken that $4 billion plan down to $2 billion. We're going to struggle to raise the $2 billion. If we were going to make every improvement that everybody wanted to make, we would probably need somewhere between $6 and $8 billion. And I will tell you right now, that's just more money than we have the ability to pay, and more money than we have the ability to raise. Thank you, Creigh. Again, any other questions? questions from the audience? I know it's early. Steve, I think you had a few comments you wanted to add.
Yeah, they're very long.
Before Tracy comes up, I do want to recognize the full-time staff at the Chamber. If Crystal and Elizabeth could come up here, just so that everybody sees you and knows you again. These are the two that are doing all the work behind the Chamber every day. Tracy will finish up with a few comments, and I appreciate everyone coming out this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And a big thank you to my staff. They do work very hard. We put on a lot of events for all of you throughout the year, and so we hope you will continue to join us like you did bright and early this morning. On the back of your programs are all the events, all of our signature events that are coming up for the year. So be sure and pencil those in on your calendar. You can also grab a save the date on your way out. I want to say a brief thank you to our speakers this morning. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. We appreciate it. We know you have a lot going on. So thank you for all you do for us, for our community, and just for being so involved. So big round of applause for them. We also have some great Rockbridge t-shirts there for you to take. I hope you will wear them with pride wherever you go. I'd also like to say a thank you to our Government Relations Committee who planned to this morning's event. Christy Crittenden and the rest of our crew, including Chuck. Big round of applause for you guys. Thank you so much. Certainly not least, our host for this morning, Lexington Golf Country Club. We are so grateful for you hosting us and sponsoring this morning's event. Brett Garrison is here with us this morning, and his team came in on a day off, so we appreciate that, opening the doors. A big round of applause for them and the great breakfast. The club will also be closing soon for some renovations, so we're excited to see what they have in store, and all the great events that we will have will be here later this year for the Golf Classic, and we hope that you all will join us for that event as well. So thank you to the club. Thank you all for getting up early with us to start the new year, and we hope to see you soon. Have a great and wonderful, safe morning. Thanks. Great.